Okay, so you want to own a football club. You've watched the money pour into this sport for 20 years, and the math looks undeniable. Television deals worth billions, stadium naming rights, shirt sponsorships, a global fan base that makes a club in the north of England somehow the most followed sports team in Indonesia. You make the call, and the first thing you discover changes everything. You are not buying a business. You are buying an obligation. The supporters who come every Saturday are not customers. Customers leave when they're unhappy. These people cannot leave. Their grandfather brought their father to this ground. Their father brought them. They are already planning which seat their children will sit in. Their loyalty was decided before they could walk, and it will never, under any circumstances, transfer to someone else. Which means the moment you do something they disagree with, and you will within months, they don't cancel a subscription. They stand outside your stadium with banners. They chant your name as an insult. They call radio shows at midnight. They organize. They protest. They make your life extremely uncomfortable while continuing to buy season tickets because leaving is not something they are capable of doing.
Welcome to the only industry where your most devoted customers are also your most dangerous critics. Now, the price. A mid-table Premier League club costs between 500 million and 1 billion pounds. That buys you the badge, the stadium, the training ground, the academy, and the playing squad. The playing squad is where the money goes to die. 30 players. Every single one with an agent whose entire professional purpose is to extract maximum money from you while pretending to be your partner. Your wage bill runs between 100 and 200 million pounds per year. Not the stars, everyone. The backup goalkeeper, the left back who hasn't started in 4 months, the academy graduate on his first professional contract who has played 11 minutes of competitive football. All of them, every month, whether you win or lose. And here is the circle you just stepped inside. Supporters want success. Success requires players. Players require wages. Wages require revenue. Revenue requires success. There is no exit from this circle. There is only how fast you run around it.
Roman Abramovich ran faster than anyone. Spent 1.5 billion pounds on Chelsea over 19 years, won every trophy the game has, and then one morning, geopolitical events that had nothing to do with football ended his ownership overnight. The club sold for a fraction of what he put in. He did not make money. He bought trophies. Those are not the same transaction. The Glazer family tried a different approach. They bought Manchester United in 2005 for 790 million pounds using a leveraged buyout, borrowed most of the money, and secured the debt against the club itself. Manchester United then spent 15 years paying interest on a loan that existed purely because someone wanted to own it. Over 1 billion pounds in interest and fees. Gone. Not into players, not into the stadium, into the cost of the acquisition. The supporters held up green and gold scarves every match for a decade, the colors of the original Newton Heath Club before it became Manchester United, before it was sold. A protest that never ended. This is the thing nobody puts in the sales documents.
A football club is not an asset you own. It is a responsibility you inherit. And the people you inherit it from, the supporters, the community, the history, will judge every decision you make against a standard that has nothing to do with your return on investment. So where does the actual money come from? The Premier League's television deal distributes somewhere between 100 and 160 million pounds per club per season. Every club, equally, whether you won the title or finished last and got relegated the following week. This is the foundation. This is what makes Premier League ownership different from every other football league on earth.
Even the worst club in the division collects more television money than the champions of most other leagues in the world. But the ceiling is the Champions League. Qualify for the Champions League and everything changes. Broadcast payments, prize money, European gate receipts, commercial deals that triple in value overnight because your badge is now appearing on screens in markets your shirt sponsor has been trying to enter for years. The difference between finishing 4th and finishing 5th? One position, sometimes one goal, sometimes decided on the final day of the season.
This is why a hamstring injury in March feels like a financial emergency. This is why the transfer window feels like a military operation. This is why managers who finish 5th get sacked, even when 5th place would have felt like a miracle 3 years earlier. The upside is extraordinary. The downside is savage. Relegation costs a club between 100 and 150 million pounds in lost revenue in the first season. The parachute payments help, but they do not close the gap. And the costs do not fall with the revenue. The players on Premier League wages are still on Premier League wages in the Championship. The stadium costs the same to run. The academy costs the same to operate. You have Premier League costs, Championship revenue, a devastated fan base, a manager under impossible pressure, and a squad full of players whose agents started making calls the morning after the relegation was confirmed. Bury FC, Derby County, clubs with decades of history that found themselves in this spiral. The debt grew, the investment shrank, the decisions got shorter term, the players got cheaper, the results got worse, the revenue fell further.
And one day, the spiral completed itself, and the club ceased to exist in any meaningful form. Not because anyone wanted to destroy them, because the economics turned, and there was nothing left to stop it. So what does this actually look like when it works? In 2008, Manchester City was mid-table, unfashionable, permanently in the shadow of their neighbors across the city. Abu Dhabi United Group paid £210 million for it. They did not buy success immediately. They built infrastructure, a training complex, an academy, a scouting network, a data operation, and then they spent in the transfer market, heavily, over £2 billion in a decade. They received financial fair play investigations and continued. Then they won. 6 Premier League titles in 11 years, a Champions League. And somewhere in that run, the commercial operation caught up with the results until Manchester City was generating over £700 million in annual revenue from a club that cost $210 million to buy. The model worked, but it required sovereign wealth, a decade of patience, and a level of spending that no privately funded owner could sustain, which is the uncomfortable truth sitting at the center of modern football. The clubs that win consistently are backed by states. Abu Dhabi owns City. Qatar owns Paris Saint-Germain. Saudi Arabia owns Newcastle. The economics of competing at the highest level have outgrown what private individuals can fund. The transfer market, the wage market, the infrastructure requirements, they have all inflated to a point where the only entities that can genuinely compete for the biggest prizes are those with access to sovereign capital. Everyone else is playing a different game, managing decline carefully enough that it looks like stability, selling players to fund wages, developing the academy because it is cheaper than the transfer market, finding the coach who overachieves on a limited budget and holding on to him until a bigger club takes him. It can work. Smaller clubs have won things. Unexpected clubs have qualified for Europe. The beauty of the sport is that money does not guarantee success, and poverty does not guarantee failure. But money makes success more likely, and the absence of it makes survival harder every single year. So here is where you actually stand. You spend somewhere close to £1 billion. You are paying $200 million a year in wages. You are generating $140 million in television money before you sell a single ticket or a single shirt.
You need the Champions League to make the numbers work long term. You need the manager to get you there. You need the players to perform. You need to avoid injuries in March. And underneath all of it, every decision you make is being watched by people who care about this club more than they care about most things in their lives, who did not choose that feeling and cannot turn it off, and who will hold you personally responsible for anything that goes wrong. Some owners never make peace with this. They arrive with a businessman's logic: assets, returns, efficiencies,
and spend years confused and frustrated that the supporters don't respond to it. They cut costs in places that feel rational on a spreadsheet and catastrophic in a stadium. They communicate in the language of investment and receive back something that feels like fury. The ones who survive, the ones who build something real, learn one thing faster than everything else. The club existed before you. It will exist after you. You are not the owner of something. You are the temporary custodian of something that belongs to people who will never appear on the legal documents. Get that right, and you have a chance. Get it wrong, and you have an expensive, very public, very loud lesson in the difference between owning something and understanding it. The banners go up either way. The only question is what they say.